This car beside me is the very first car that newcomer Leapmotor has launched for our Australian market. The C10 in the flagship design grade. Now what's interesting about all of this is that the big car company Stellantis, which owns Jeep and Fiat and the like, has invested a whopping $2.5 billion in getting this car market ready and having a share in Leapmotor. And in this review, we're going to find out if it is actually market ready and how it handles family life. So stay watching. There are two grades available for the C10, the base style and our flagship design grade. Its closest rival is another new vehicle, the Geely EX5 Inspire, because it shares a similar layout and specs, but the C10 design is a smidge more expensive. However, compared to its other mid-size SUV rivals, like the Kia EV5 Earth and the Tesla Model Y, it is far more affordable and definitely offers value for money. The C10 design is well equipped and you get features like electric front seats with heat and ventilation functions, a heated steering wheel, panoramic sunroof, as well as a large 14.6 multimedia display with sat-nav. But you do miss out on any phone mirroring capabilities, and that might annoy some. But the full specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. The C10 design looks quite nice for a mid-size SUV. It does fall a little bit on the bland side for me just because there's a lot of smooth body paneling going on, but the LED lights add some interest factor, particularly the rear strip light, and I really like the subtle badging on this paint color. There are two interior color choices you can choose from, a black or this color, which is kind of intense en masse and makes me feel like I'm inside of an apricot. But I do like the feel of the silicone synthetic leather underhand. It's quite nice to touch, and there's lots of soft touch points throughout. The dashboard also features some cool hidden vent strips and ambient lighting in it, and the moonroof is a nice touch. But again, there's lots of big and smooth paneling across the dash and in the doors. And despite there being a big display panel, there's no buttons and dials, so it's curiously lacking in personality in here. The biggest win of this cabin is definitely the space available for all passengers, because there's a stack of room in both rows, which is excellent. The wide seats offer lots of comfort for shorter journeys because they've got lots of thick padding and long under thigh support, but they do lack lumbar support, which might not translate as well to longer journeys. The storage up front is a little bit lacking though, and below average for the class. Usually in an EV, you'd find some clever options for smaller storage, but in this, you don't have them. You do get a shallow glove box, decent sized middle console, and a shelf underneath. But other than that, just two cup holders and that's it. Because of the lack of buttons and dials in here, you are relying solely on the 14.6-inch touchscreen multimedia system for all of your needs. And that includes adjusting things like your side mirrors. Give me a button any day. The good thing though is that the touchscreen is responsive and the built-in sat-nav fairly simple to operate. Like I mentioned, you don't have any phone mirroring capabilities in this, which might annoy some, but anyone familiar with Tesla is going to feel pretty comfortable in here. Charging options are okay, but not class leading, especially for a new EV, because you get a single USB-A and C port in each row. Up front, you also get a 12-volt socket and a wireless charging pad. But the charging pad also doubles as a starter, for lack of a better word, because you have to put the key card on it in order to start the car. And most of the time I just left it there and forgot to use it for the phone. The space available in this back seat is seriously awesome. Like, there's so much room, and taller occupants are going to be very happy back here. The seats themselves are pretty comfortable, and it's an easy SUV to slide in and out of, which my kid appreciated. You get 3 child seat anchor points back here, and it was easy fitting my booster seat, which is awesome. But the bench seat is wide enough that you're going to be able to get 3 child seats side by side, which is pretty good for a family SUV. And you can get 3 adults back here too. It's that big. Bonus, it's got a flat floor. It is a little bit surprising though that for a flagship grade, you do miss out on some of the high-end features back here, like climate control and heated outboard seats. But I guess that's the compromise for getting such a low price point for this car. The other amenities are okay. You get 2 cup holders, directional air vents, and those USB ports that I mentioned. Despite the flush door handles, my 8-year-old didn't really complain about the amenities or space back here, and he did compliment the view that he got out of his window, so that's good. The boot is pretty practical with its squarish shape, and you get up to 581 litres of storage capacity. The level loading space makes this a pretty easy car to slide bigger items in and out, and I really like the underfloor storage compartment. You do miss out on front storage though, but I like that you get a power tailgate. A special mention has to be made for the key card that you get with this vehicle because it doesn't have proximity unlocking. So if you have a trolley load worth of groceries or a stroller and kids in tow and you want to access the boot or any other door, you can't do it until you head to the driver's side and unlock it. Now, I'm calling that out as a bit silly for families because no parent, when they have gear or kids in tow, want to be fumbling around with a key card like that. Now, a small caveat, there is an app for owners which gives you a single digital key, but again, why would you want to be fumbling around with an app? A simple proximity key fob would have been much better. The C10 has a rear-wheel drive and a single electric motor located at the back of the car. This produces up to 160 kilowatts of power and 320 newton meters of torque. It can do a 0 to 100 kilometer sprint in just 7.5 seconds, which isn't ridiculously fast for an EV, but it's still sufficient for it to feel quick on the open road. The C10 has a 69.9 kilowatt hour lithium ferrophosphate battery and a WLTP driving range of up to 420 kilometers. It only accepts up to 6.6 kilowatts of AC power. And what all that means is that those figures do sit on the lower side for this class. This has a Type 2 CCS charging port, and that means that you can hook this up to a rapid DC charger. It only accepts up to 84 kilowatts on this type of system though, and that's not great. It actually sits quite a bit below its rivals. That means on a 150 kilowatt fast DC charger, you can go from 30 to 80% in around 30 minutes. But you're more likely to hook on to a 50 kilowatt DC charger, and that figure will jump up to an hour and a half, and no one has time for that when you've got kids in tow. A small bonus though, this does have vehicle to load capability. The C10 has a maximum 5-star ANCAP safety rating from testing done in 2024 and features 7 airbags and a whole suite of safety equipment, including standouts like rear cross traffic alert and rear collision warning. Here's the rub though, a lot of the safety systems are not well calibrated. The driver monitoring doesn't like it when you scratch your nose, cough, or look at the multimedia screen. The lane keeping aids when they're turned on make you fight the steering wheel, and the traffic sign recognition frequently quotes the wrong speed. What's really annoying though is the amount of alerts and chimes that you get in this vehicle. And even when you turn off or mute some of those systems I just mentioned, you still get chimes, and the car doesn't tell you why it's alerting. This has been one of the biggest gripes for my family this week. But the full safety specs are in my detailed written review at carsguide.com.au if you need more info. The C10 is a pretty good open roader if you mute or turn off some of the safety systems that I mentioned before. In those scenarios, it's nice on the open road. The power delivery is not going to knock your socks off, but it's more than adequate to feel like it's capable in getting up hills or overtaking. However, it can be annoying to try and remember to turn off those safety systems every single time you drive, and even more so if you forget, because a lot of them can't be turned off when you're actually driving. The steering's on the heavier side for this model, and you're going to notice its size in a small car park or in the city, but other than that, suspension is pretty soft. You don't really feel most of the bumps, which is quite nice. You do hear them though, because while the ride comfort's pretty good, it can get quite loud with road noises, and you even get an annoying whir from the electric motor, particularly more at lower speeds. Visibility is pretty great in this model though because of the large windows, and none of the pillars got in the way of my driving position. Surprisingly, this model doesn't come with front parking sensors. You do get rear parking sensors though, and a clear 360-degree view camera system. And I like that the car disappears when you're reversing. That's quite a cool feature. It's not a hard car to park, but it is one that's difficult to determine where it starts and ends, which means that when you're pulling into a car space, the camera doesn't activate, so you don't really know how close you are to the curb or gutter or car in front, which meant that I ended up reversing into spaces far more than what I usually do. The C10 is offered with a 7-year or up to 160,000 kilometre warranty, and the battery is covered by an 8-year term, which is similar to its Kia EV5 rival. There's a 5-year cap price servicing program which costs a flat $2,000, which is reasonable for the class, and servicing intervals are at every 12 months or 20,000 kilometres, whichever occurs first. But it is normal to see a 2-year interval on an EV. The Leapmotor C10 design is really good on paper and offers family good value for money if they're looking for a mid-size electric SUV that won't break the bank, but still comes with some decent features. Not all of the features worked in practice, and there were times where this car felt a little bit unfinished, but it was more the slow charging capabilities that hurt the family practicality for me, and that's why it gets the score that's on your screen now. But if you're after the full written review, check it out at carsguide.com.au, and I'll see you next week.